Welcome to Module 4. Let us read the text for a better understanding of the lesson. Please read along with me. So, when the class was circling the room, the monitor from the principal's office brought Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands. Attention, class! Everyone back to their seat. When the shuffling of feet had stopped and the room was still and quiet, Miss Mason said, "I have a letter from Vanta's father that I want to read to you." Miss Mason stood there a moment, and the silence in the room grew tense and expectant. The teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately. Her manner indicated that what was coming. This letter from Vanta's father was a matter of great importance. Everybody listened closely as Miss Mason read the brief note. "Dear teacher, my Vanta will not come to your school anymore. Jake also. Now we move away to big city. No more holler Polak. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Yours truly, Jan Petronsky." A deep silence met the reading of this letter. Miss Mason took off her glasses, blew on them, and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. Then she put them on again and looked at the class. When she spoke, her voice was very low. "I'm sure that none of the boys and girls in room 13 would purposely and deliberately hurt anyone's feelings because his or her name happened to be a long and familiar one. I prefer to think that what was said in thoughtlessness. I know that all of you feel the way I do, and this is a very unfortunate thing to have happened. Unfortunate and sad, both. And I want you all to think about it." So here we have some new words in this page: shuffling, expectant, deliberately, holler Polak, and again deliberately. If you could find the meanings by referring to a dictionary, it would add to your reference skills. The first period was study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lessons, but she could not put her mind on her work. She had a very sick feeling in the bottom of her stomach. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy ask Vanda how many dresses she had in her closet. But she had said nothing. She had stood by silently, and that was just as bad as what Peggy had done. Worse, she was a coward. At least Peggy hadn't considered they were being mean, but she, Maddie, had thought they were doing wrong. She could put herself in Vanda's shoes. Please try to find a single word for put herself in Vanda's shoes or put oneself in others' shoes. Goodness, wasn't there anything she could do? If only she could tell Vanda she hadn't meant to hurt her feelings. She turned around and stole a glance at Peggy. But Peggy did not look up. She seemed to be studying hard. Well, whether Peggy felt badly or not, Maddie, had to do something. She had to find Vanda Petronsky. Maybe she had not yet moved away. Maybe Peggy would climb the heights with her, and they would tell Vanda she had won the contest, that they thought she was smart and the 100 dresses were beautiful. When school was dismissed in the afternoon, Peggy said with pretended casualness, "Hey, let's go and see if that kid has left town or not." So Peggy had had the same idea. Maddie glowed. Peg was really all right. The two girls hurried out of the building, up the street toward Bogan Heights, the part of town that wore such a forbidding air on this kind of November afternoon, drizzly, damp, and dismal. "Well, at least," said Peggy gruffly, "I never did call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had the sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb. And gee, look how she can draw. Maddie could say nothing. All she hoped was that they could find Vanda. She wanted to tell her that they were sorry they had picked on her, and how wonderful the whole school thought she was, and please not to move away and everybody would be nice. She and Peggy would fight anybody who was not nice. The two girls hurried on. They hoped to get to the top of the hill before dark. I think that's where the Petronskis live, said Maddie, pointing to a little white house. Wisps of old grass stuck up here and there along the pathway like thin kittens. The house and its sparse little yard looked shabby but clean. It reminded Maddie of Vanda's one dress, her faded blue cotton dress, shabby but clean. There was not a sign of life about the house. Peggy knocked firmly on the door, but there was no answer. She and Maddie went around to the backyard and knocked there. Still there was no answer. Find the meanings of the underlined words in the text, and please do read the text along with me silently so that you will understand in a better way. Thank you.